And welcome to another great episode of Tampa Fishing Outfitters Fishing Report, sponsored by good friends at Tampa Fishing Outfitters. Captain Rick.
Hey.
Captain Jason in the house. Captain Trav is
in the live well, baby.
He's in the live well. We're behind a bunch of electronic gadgets that me or Rick
don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, we just talk fishing and talk about whatever else y'all want to talk about. But when it comes to running all that stuff behind the scenes, I'm going to get Travis to show me that one day.
Yeah.
I really want to learn that. Rick, I can tell you have no desire.
I have no desire.
You don't. I actually do. I'd like to.
I could be imprisoned with nothing to do. And I'd rather just sit there and look out.
It interests me, but I'm afraid of it because, like,
that.
I think we've done this once before where I tried to run the show. And
you did.
We got about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
she crashed a few times.
She crashed.
We brought
her back. I mean, you know, we were running on one engine. We were flying on one engine there, but we got her done. We got about 10 minutes into the show. But, yeah, we're going to talk fishing tonight. We're going to call this the old school show.
This is the old school show.
No, hey, Billy Nobles, we're going to throw you under the bus tonight, brother. We're gonna bring back some memories.
Jason drug up some old magazines, and
I put a post on Facebook today. I was, you know, it's January. It's been cold, a little slow on business. Got a few trips a week right now, but I was cleaning out my files, getting ready for tax season, cleaning out 17, putting them in the boxes, marking them, and happened to dig in my radio show file where I thought I had a bunch of contracts from when we did radio that I was going to throw away. Well, I pulled the file. I got to throw it away.
And look what
pops out. Along with my fishing logs from back in the day.
2002.
2002, my man.
I was looking through there earlier. The boat prices back then were pretty good.
Oh, heck yeah. Fuel. Hey.
Yeah, the boat prices in 2002 were good.
Anybody that
Paychecks just weren't that good.
No.
Anybody that read my post back in the day, Captain Dan Hicks, when's the last time you talked to him? I ain't heard or seen about him in years.
Heard that name.
But that's when you can take $20, take the truck to the ramp, put the boat in the water, and get back home on $20. Fuel was cheap, boats were cheap, and fishing was good. Billy Nobles, I hope you see this, brother. I know you probably don't watch too much of our show. If you do, you're going to appreciate this one. Because, my man, take the gray off this magazine. There ain't no gray in that hair.
No.
And I can't remember last time I seen him in a flats boat.
No.
That's some good stuff right there. Captain Billy's good people, man. Hey, there's one person who'll guaranteed to make you laugh. That's Billy.
Right, buddy.
For sure.
That sucker's got some jokes. He's always been good to me over the years. But, yeah, man, this brought back some memories. I was cleaning out my drawers. I found actually where I took logs and water temperature degrees and wrote them down. I had this whole system that eventually worked. It didn't work too good at first, but and I'd save these magazines for the tides. I used to read the Saltwater Angler all the time, and it was I think it's one of the best publications at the time, along with Onshore Offshore, which still rolling. I write for them, but this was cool, man. This was a cool book, good information, and I used to save. I don't know why I had these in particular.
Well, yeah, it's funny, before the phones with apps, we all had to have some kind of paper tied system that we used, and I used to buy the Florida Sportsman.
Yep. I was so mad when they went away from them.
That's what I was about to say.
Even when you could go online, that thing, I was used to reading the graphs. And
yeah. What I liked about it is you could see a whole month at a time, and not that here in our area.
That looks like a Florida Fisher, too.
It is a Florida Fisher.
Yeah. Yep.
Tides flop every 2 weeks, but still, those books were, and you could do the whole state. They had the tides for the whole state, just in different regions.
Yep.
But it's definitely old
good
school.
Stuff.
Yeah, it brought me back a little bit. It was cool. That's when
we were young.
Yeah, well,
18 years ago, man.
Speaking of young,
16 years ago.
Speaking of young, you got another one of that.
You got
Rick.
a birthday boy on the podium tonight.
Birthday boy in the house.
He ain't exactly celebrating like I did, but hey.
No, we ain't gonna celebrate like Jason. But I want to tell you, 53 ain't bad.
53 ain't bad.
The new
it's
20.
A step up from 52.
That's the new 20.
One just below 54,
the new
baby.
20.
We'll
Feeling
put you
good.
in some bell bottoms and take it to Jimmy John's after
give me
the
some
show,
corduroys.
Corduroys. Jeez.
At least it ain't the water temperature
Give
anymore.
me some corduroys and a flannel shirt, and I'm rocking.
Game over. Jeez, we're going. I told you we're going old school. Rick's turning 53, and I got some old magazines.
Awesome.
But it was cool, man. I looked.
Well,
at
I got
that book
some
for
new
about
school
20
stuff
minutes.
here for us.
Yeah, we're going to talk. So today, our giveaway. We're not going to give the trivia just yet, but we're going to be giving away these great set of braid line cutters. I guess braid cutter line. They'll cut any kind of line, but.
Well,
I think we're gone.
We may have just died.
What just happened there?
Maybe his battery went out.
Oh, my goodness, man.
Maybe his memory card is full.
No, the battery didn't die. I wonder.
Check the battery life on the back real fast. We're not recording yet, are we?
No.
Well, we might be.
Oh, it's.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
shit.
still feeding, baby. Go for it.
Hey,
We got some technical difficulties going on here tonight.
There you go.
hey, that's live. Coming at you live. That's Travis's hand.
So we can hear you, but we can't see you. Well, you know what? That's the best thing for us. Because if you can see us, that's not good.
Yeah, so I guess we're still
I guess we're
rolling.
gonna have to use the little
Yeah,
record update deal up there, but hey, let's roll with it.
We
Keep
got
going.
a replacement GoPro tonight that we're using, and guess what? You know what? They actually do some professional editing where they do it's like
They do.
homemade recording. What was
They
it?
do.
What was the scary show?
Well, now we know we got 52% left.
Yeah, we know how much our battery life is. So when you see that thing get to zero, y'all boys better.
We're out.
We're gonna shut her down.
Hopefully the SD card will let it keep rolling, but keep
So,
going.
Hold on, what's the movie? What was the crazy movie where they had the stuff like on the video? I'm going off track here.
I got
where they
no
never
clue.
found it was like the scary movie. What was the name of that movie? It was like homemade movie. What's wrong with you guys? This could be the trivia.
No, it's not.
You'd have
It's not the
something.
trivia.
It's not.
The something project.
Oh, Blair Witch.
Yeah, they
Blair
had
Witch.
they had the stuff just like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
doing this the Blair Witch show. There we
Blair
go.
Witch style.
I'm just trying to play it off our screw up here. Come
It's
on.
hard to play that one off. But well, let's roll.
We
Let's
don't
get
really
something
have
out.
a whole lot of fishing to talk about because it's been so daggum cold, and this week the fishing.
It was.
well, We got some good reports though. We really hadn't lost a whole lot of snook that
No.
I've seen.
Not a lot.
It's kind of concerned me. I think anybody that fished a lot in pre 2010 was worried more than people that hadn't, that didn't see what we went
Right.
through.
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy. That's kind of a long time ago now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it's been tough. I used. You guys actually were able to get some whitebait this week.
Mhm.
I kind of took I went by my first instinct, which is typically the one you want to go by. My second instinct, I was second guessing myself to go get bait, and I said, nah, it's too cold. Even if I did, I was convinced I could get bait, but I just didn't feel like it was going to make a big difference. I'm
You were
still,
right.
Well,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
shrimp wasn't real good either. I actually went out and tried to do some sheep's head, which is like, that's like your safeguard this time of year. I caught one sheep's head in like an hour. Like, and I
Wow.
was on. Actually, I was marking fish too, which was kind of weird. They just went biting, and the runoff produced doubles on sharks
Yeah.
for like an hour,
Yeah.
and it saved me really on the trip. But we still had a good time. It was just, it was working. Funny thing, I think Travis texted me the same day. It's like, "How was your bite?" I'm not very good at lying. I probably should have told him it was stellar, and he would have really been.
I
He
would
would have
have
not
I would
believed you.
have. I would have. Yeah.
Well,
Definitely
no,
called your bluff on that one, but.
No.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, we went yesterday. Travis
yeah.
and I, we had a 2-boat deal, and we went and got white bait, and it was terrible. It was terrible. Monday, the day before, we went to the runoff and caught a bunch of sharks, and nothing after that but a lady fishing. And actually Sunday, I did okay in the last 30 minutes, but nothing for 30. For the first part of the trip, and then we just kept grinding, and got 6 redfish at the end, 2 keepers, and that was probably the most uncomfortable trip as far as the weather goes. But it's the water's cold, the fish don't want to eat. They're just, I found a bunch of fish. The water's clear, and on those low tides, I found a ton of fish, which is good. I'm going to use that coming up. But no, it was horrible.
Well, I actually have a trip tomorrow, and
Tomorrow,
as bad as Tuesday.
whenever they do eat, though,
yesterday
they're
was.
going to eat.
Yeah, they're eventually going to kick back up. It's just, I think we're in that what I call like the adjustment stage. Like, the fish have to adjust to the cold weather. Like, we just had an extreme fall. It's going to warm up a little bit, and then everything's got to kind of settle down to where there's a little bit of consistency is the word I always use in fishing. When you ain't got consistency, you usually don't.
Well, we've had
a lot
over
of fish.
if you take just say the last 2 weeks, and you take the changes that have happened in our water temperature, and then outside conditions, with everything, a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind, this, that, and the other, blowing stuff around, negative tides around a full moon, et cetera, et cetera. We've had a lot of changes in a short period of time, and what you and I talked about yesterday was there is going to be a point where they're going to start. They got to eat.
And I thought yesterday in the afternoon was going to be
when I saw
that.
water, we saw water temperatures up to like 63 degrees yesterday when we were fishing, which was fine. And in some of the shallower areas, I thought I would see some fish, even some trout or some redfish laid up. Didn't see anything. Tiger had mentioned here on a comment that some jacks were floating upside down this weekend and yesterday, and we saw the same thing. We actually went out and had to give Tiger a hand with a dead battery, and Rick and I saw the same thing at the mouth of the river. There was a lot of jacks and bigger jacks.
They were struggling.
And they were struggling. They were on the surface, kind of puttering around. And then yesterday when I was fishing, I fished across a shallow flat, getting to a pond, and or not fish, but went across a shallow flat, and it was peppered with, small jacks, little guys that just didn't make it. And then when we got back, saw a bunch of snook, good portion of them in the marina,
right?
Laid up in the stalls. And I sat there and I watched them when we got back. I kind of watched those fish for a little bit, and I had thought they were a little more effective than they were, but yesterday afternoon it warmed up real nice. When I got in my truck to leave, and I left my dock at about, I guess it was about 5:30, 5:20, something like that, by the time I washed up and left, and my truck was reading 75 degrees. Well, these snook were sitting in the marina almost rolling on their sides, just kind of laying there next to the boats, next to the pylons, and on them shell bottom
Grabbing some heat.
stalls, just chilling. And when I walked up, I was like, oh, man, these things are messed up, Man, I got up there and I just kind of tapped on the dock one time, and they all took off.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool.
No, I saw those same fish, and I thought I think they're fine.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with it. I did post a picture this morning of a big snook that we saw in an area, and part of that was it was not a scare. I wasn't trying to say, oh, we got a big fish kill. I know some areas were hit worse than others, but sort of the point of that was some big fish have been caught in some areas. They've been killed. I think it's due to let them give a little break, kind of lay off the snook fishing for a week or two, target some of these other species. That was kind of the point of that. Even though, in the areas that I saw those fish laid up, and a big one and a couple small ones, that was in an area that they normally go to
get out of
to
it.
get out of the cold weather and water temperature. So that was a little concerning, but I'm glad with as many snook as I know are in that area that we only saw a couple. So that says that the majority of those fish are fine and they're going to be all right. But it is going to make sense to leave them alone for a couple weeks at least. Let them rebound. They're going to be plentiful in the spring, and just kind of
Yeah, I mean,
Play it by
honestly,
ear.
my rule of thumb, years of guiding, and it's changed because we've had different winters drastically. January 1st to February 15th, you really don't you shrimp fish, you don't
Yeah.
snook fish. I mean, that's always been I always throw dates.
Yeah,
Of
but
course,
on the
that
good,
varies, but
warm years, you can still
Yeah,
hang around.
Yeah, I
it
mean, and it's
adjusts,
not.
but-
Yeah, you get one of them good, patterns, or there's some trophy fish around some docks and stuff like that. But just in general, like, don't use snook as your, your targeted species for the day. They need the help, but they'll be fine. I don't think there's anything to worry about. That's not the whole point. The point is to just, if you do catch some big snook or you catch some small ones, do take care of them. Make sure they get back and revived well. The porpoises, as we've talked about, are insane right now. There's a lot of porpoise on the South Shore and throughout the area, and they've gotten smarter. They're sitting behind your boat waiting for you to release, especially snook, juvenile snook. And this time of year, they'll definitely be vulnerable to some dolphins if you let them go, especially after this colder weather. So just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it's just it's cold. I mean, when we get some consistent weather, I don't really think the sheep's head have really gotten
No,
crazy.
I don't think so either. That's
I
what we
think
were
it's coming.
talking about the other day. For me, it was normally like kind of end of January, early February when you got that. When it got real cold for a couple days and then off and then cold and then off for a couple days, I think it really pushes those fish. And I think there's a certain moon. I think that moon in January, February is what really triggers those fish to spawn out there. And I think that's when it generally happens, because I know that for me, sheep's head's normally mixed in with the start of some of our black drum fishing.
Yeah.
When the black drums start, it's that same period where you're out in the middle of the bay and you see some mud slicks and you kind of roll up and do the black drum thing, or you find that big school of black drum out there. But I definitely think there's some good fishing to come.
Can you get our comments?
Like I said, the trout fishing has been really good, and I was surprised yesterday, Rick, that we didn't do any better on the
terrible.
trout.
I was
But
a
it
little
has been,
surprised.
for me, it has been really good.
Well, and here's something that everybody should know. We don't like fishing on days like that, and
Well, that's just part of guiding.
well, it is. But the Monday and Tuesday I fished, and Tiger and I had a couple of the blasting casts deals set up where they hunt in the morning and fish in the afternoon, and that's been on the books for 2 months. And these people came in from up north to do this, and they really didn't mind the weather, and we were pretty much straight up front to let them know that, this is going to be tough. This is not what we're normally fishing conditions, and this is not what we're after. And if you weren't from out of town, I would certainly try to reschedule you, but they can't fish any other time. And we weren't even holding them to the trip. The weather was so bad, and they said, "No, we're good. We plan on fishing, so we're gonna do it." So that being said, typically when you have conditions like we went through this weekend, we're not fishing.
Yeah.
And we're trying to reschedule that stuff. And one thing, I know these two guys here are pretty good, and they're two pretty awesome fishermen. And when you get on the boat with them, I can promise you, and I'm going to include myself in the same part of this, is we want you to catch fish more than you want to catch fish.
Absolutely.
Believe that or not. That's the fact. I know there's some captains out there that are just looking for the payout at the end of the day, and obviously we wouldn't do it if it wasn't for that, because we have to get paid. But working hard and trying to catch fish is something that I know you guys do.
That's the objective.
Actually, and I could tell yesterday, man, I was watching you, Travis. It was eating.
It was
you.
hard. I was fishing hard.
You were fishing hard. Luckily,
But-
the two that I had on the boat were pretty much, they just like sitting there drinking beer.
Yeah.
Obviously wanted to catch fish, but understood the situation, and they were like, "Look, we're good. Let's just fish, and if they eat, they eat, and if they don't, they don't." Where you kept, Travis was grinding, man. He was on the hunt.
If there was a
And,
fish in that area,
You
I
would've
either
caught
threw a bait over top of
Yeah.
him or drove across it. I promise you that.
But,
Yeah, well, I mean,
But that's the way I fish. Like you said, I mean, there's days where you do just sit there and you have faith. Yesterday with the tide, with the conditions, with 2 hours of overcast fishing in January, early January, with a coming on the backside of our cold front of the year, and then finally getting 2 hours of sunlight. I did have some hope that, okay, let's just keep bouncing until we find a happy little pod of fish that are sitting there getting warmed up, and that was sort of the way I fished yesterday. And it was tough, but like you said, we do it for a living, and it's the law of averages. The more you go, the more days you're going to have that are not
Crappy.
as good. Yeah, crappy. I mean, you can't, like, as Jason would say, polishing turds, but, the fishing was good. We had fun fishing. We had bait. There was really no other things that we could have done other than being in a different spot at a different time, so on and so forth. So it was a good trip. We had a good time, made some new friends, and caught a few fish. So it was cool. But
that's why they call it fishing. I do realize that most people that book a charter, they want that day, and I want to provide that day, as y'all do. But that day just doesn't happen every day.
It's not every day.
No.
I can tell you on a charter how to increase your chance of having that day. Ask the captain to look at the tides and pick the best case scenarios. The X factor is weather. We don't know what the weather's going to do. It's happened to me multiple times. One thing that I guarantee my customers is I'm going to work hard to put you on fish.
And you ain't going to yell at them.
Yeah, so I ain't going to yell at you, and I'm going to do everything I can to make the day enjoyable, because it's not always about catching fish. What I think is a good day is certainly a lot more than what most people think on a good day.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we try to put something, a quality trip together, and just put it together. That's what I try to do on my trips. I know, Travis, you're as hard of a fisherman as I know. Rick, you're in the same boat. I have learned over the years, and it's funny, I really didn't have to call anybody to know. The only X factor was you on the other days. You guys have white bait, which can make a difference on a tough day. If I hit 4 spots, 5 spots, and I see a pattern of crappy fishing, it's the day. It's
you
not
either
the
make a
spots.
drastic change.
Yeah, you
or
and I actually went from flats fishing to bay fishing to fishing the runoff to fishing the river.
Yeah.
And besides catching sharks, I mean, I went kind of all aspects of in 4 hours, and you just look at it and you go, it's not going to happen. Whether it's the barometer, or we had slow tides that day. Honestly, the slow tides don't even bother me that much this time of year. I think it's more the weather. I mean, obviously you want better moving water, but you just kind of get that feeling that
it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. The
Rick,
guy in the middle, William, is Captain Travis.
Travis Yaeckel.
Captain Travis Yaeckel.
what did I do now?
Nothing.
And he can't see your name.
Oh.
Slide to the side and let
There
him
you
read
go.
some names.
There you go.
Yeah. The short guy.
So yeah, well, Rick, let's do some trivia, guys. I know you guys can see our battery monitor up there, so we got 32%. We're gonna pack as much in this thing as we can, but
Do we need
let's
to run
do-
the commercial?
let's do trivia. We'll do it in just a second. Let's do trivia. We'll give the trivia question away. We're gonna run a little small commercial, and then when we get back,
Do the trivia
Show the
when we get
prize.
back from the commercial.
Because we may run out of battery.
well, whichever.
Show the prize.
The prize tonight for our trivia is a pair of Berkeley Superline cutters.
And we're hearing that those are pretty good.
We're hearing these are the real deal, so somebody's gonna get to try a pair if they can answer this question.
Captain James Beers claims these things are good. He told
So-
me that tonight. They look pretty cool.
They're aerodynamic.
And you're going to win them tonight if you get the trivia.
Let's go for it.
How many teeth can a shark grow during its lifetime?
Got me. I know I get, 2 sets, and then you're on the... I mean, dentures,
That's a good
You
one.
ain't growing dentures.
I know it because I looked them all up,
Yeah.
but it's a good one. So how many teeth can a shark grow during its lifetime? And I'm there's a source for this, so it's a number. Obviously, I'm sure it's an estimate.
Yes.
But guys, we're gonna take a short break. Let you watch a few commercials here, and we'll be right back. Answer the trivia question, you get you a prize. How many teeth can a shark grow during its lifetime? It's a number.
It's
So
a lot more than anything we've seen on there right now.
Cool
check
set
it
of
out and
pliers,
let's
new
see
rubber.
what we got. Hey guys, welcome back. Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. Myself, Captain Travis Yaeckel in the studio, along with Captain Jason Prieto, and the wind dancer, birthday boy over here.
Yes, sir.
Everybody say happy birthday,
Mr.
Captain Rick.
53.
Thank you. Thank you.
Captain Rick
53
Liles.
going on
Hey,
21.
didn't
son.
think I was going to make 30.
I like it. So we got a couple answers flying around in there.
Jesus.
Nobody's getting close, honestly.
If
so
it's a Ruskin shark, that is always Tiger.
Who's put that?
That is
7.
the X factor. That's
7
hilarious.
if it's from Ruskin.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you're lucky. If you're lucky.
Wow.
They go
So-
in Ruskin.
Well, guys, keep the answers coming. Keep the guesses coming. Rick, read it off one more time for anybody that.
How many teeth can a shark grow during a lifetime?
How
Its
many
lifetime.
teeth can a shark grow during a lifetime? All right. So, real quick, guys, I got a little product here. We kind of have failed the last couple weeks on doing product review, but this is one that we all kind of have talked about or know about and wanted to
Both
bring on the
have
show.
one.
Both have one.
I don't.
And the reason I bring it up is
both.
there's a lot of guys kind of stocking up on stuff for this year. You're doing your tournament list and you're getting all your product together, your gear. And these tanks, this is an oxygen tank from Keep Alive. Our boy Tom over there at Keep Alive keeps us squared away. And this is one of the, I think this is a medium-sized tank. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know the actual size of it. Unless it says it.
I'm pretty sure it's the medium one.
But they have
They
like
have
3
a
or 4
small
different
one,
sizes,
yeah.
but you can go to their website at keepalive.com and check it out. The blue section is the oxygen, and the red section is all your live well pumps and
What's this
stuff
little
like
piece
that.
That's
so-
the regulator.
So you got, that's what I was going to do is go over the pieces. So you got your tank, and then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and
And
pick
what's
up.
this for? This is for keeping.
This
bait
is for
alive.
oxygen. It's I don't
Bait.
necessarily use it for my bait, but
I'm not a big fan of the bait deal. It does work, but the
So this would be something a tournament fisherman would
so
put in their
so
boat
mine
to
is
keep
set up
their catch alive before they could get back in the water.
I'll tell you a little story when he's done explaining.
more for tournament fishing and keeping a redfish alive or the pair of redfish alive. Out in Louisiana, it gets we got a winner, Jonathan Mead,
50,000.
50,000.
brother. We'll have
Jonathan
your name
Mead.
on it. Come see what boy James Beers at the front.
You got it. So anyhow, so with the oxygen system in Louisiana in particular, you know, you don't run recirc, you don't run your live well pumps and keep, you know, recirculating the water or, you know, overflowing it out and bringing it back in. So what we'll do is we'll normally fill it up first thing in the morning, put some of the blue goo. I can't even. I'm lost for words.
You don't
Rejuvenate?
Really
The-
need, I mean, that
The
helps,
Rejuvenate,
but
or there's several different ick out or whatever, you know, there's several different flavors of it, but you put the
Fish
treatment, you
steroids.
put the blue treatment in there. That's going to help any nicks or scars on your fish. But then I'll pump this oxygen on them, and I don't run any recirc, no live well pumps on them, and I'll just run this oxygen, and I get a lot out of it. This particular regulator has several different settings for it. And I'll normally run it like, I was down to running like an 1/8. You can even get down to a 16th.
No
and you'll
way.
get plenty of air out of this stone.
Yeah,
it goes
well,
all the way up to like, I think 2 or 4.
16's pretty. I ran a 16th by accident. It's not hardly
It's-
anything coming out.
right.
I almost don't want to push out of the storm.
It
stone.
it
Quarter's
depends on
good.
what you're good. Like we had one fish and a good healthy fish, no bad conditions. So we were running on like a 16th. And with these diffusers, at Tom, you know, the way Tom does it, you want to buy his whole system. Because it's all been set up, it's all been designed just for this stuff. And this diffuser that he's got, it's a ceramic diffuser, and this thing pumps out some micro bubbles, man.
Yes.
Now,
I mean-
just out of curiosity, as your pressure in your tank drops, do you have to go higher on that? Do you just
No,
have
it
to keep
This
just
tweaking
because
it?
it's going to regulate it, so it's just
Yeah.
like any other air regulator, just like
Okay.
an air
Okay,
tank where
I got you.
you've got a certain amount of max
I got you.
pressure in the tank,
So
and it just
a
starts
true
falling.
regulator.
Yeah, it's a true regulator. So it's gonna regulate what's coming out of the tank into the stone, obviously. And you can get the whole kit from him. I want to say that this kit is going to cost you, when you put all the pieces together, somewhere around like $500. I think is about.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of a deal on them, but it's about $500. And what I went ahead and did, which is really cool, is I got this little carrying bag. I think it's like $30 for the bag, but you put your tank in here. You got a little storage pouch for your stone, your regulator, and your air hose. That all goes in there. So I just keep that full of air, and then on tournament day I just throw it in the boat.
And
But it's an easy setup. It's got suction cups on the bottom. You
Yeah.
can stick it in any live well, hook it up, set it on the outside. I carry an extra little cooler. I'll carry an extra grizzly, and we put some towels in it and just set the tank in there. When we were tournament fishing this year in Louisiana, it did awesome. We used it in all of our tournaments, 2-day tournaments. It didn't matter. We had plenty of air.
Yeah, and
So-
I saw Travis with this little bag at the movies during the summer trying to butt line by making people think he was.
I
on
do,
boat, too.
yeah. It's got a shoulder strap, so you can carry it on the shoulder, and you can walk right into the movies. You put this thing right here, wrap that around the back, and people just get the heck out of the way. But no, I wanted to bring it in because a lot of guys have talked about this, and there's been a lot of questions that have came up on the tournament guys about oxygen and where to get it and all that stuff. And
How long will one of these tanks last?
this tank right here, we used it for I got about total of probably 9 days out of it altogether.
That's not bad.
Where we would use it on pre-fish and test some areas that we were fishing, and then of course I tested it for like a full day before we used it in a tournament. So I've only actually filled this tank up one time, and our last trip to Louisiana, literally when we pulled into the weigh-in, it was just barely bubbling air. So
it's not as
we got-
much as Tom claims. He's like, you can run it wide open and not need to fill it for
yeah, I
a
didn't.
century. But for redfish, it's great. For
It's
bait, it's gonna help because he's always tried to sell these to me because I get my pumps from him
Yeah, I got the spill.
on bait, and it's like, I don't want it, Tom. The problem with it for using bait is I even had my boat the hoses pre-ran through the hull to where I didn't have a hose and a bottle hanging out the side of my live well. And I haven't used it on bait, but redfish, keeping redfish alive for tournaments, it's awesome. It will work great on bait if you lose. I don't know what I did there, man.
Yeah.
I actually just tried to move the.
It's all
thing.
good.
But
Is it?
Yeah, we'll get it. Go keep rolling.
But it works great. It's a great system. It's if you're doing any kind of tournaments, it's ideal to have. You really don't need to run. You know what was real nice in Louisiana is so this year, I'll tell you a quick little story. In day 2 in Louisiana, day 1 we only had 12 pounds. We're out of the run. I told Brian, let's just swing for the fences and so we had 2 fish. Well, we had 2 wells with 2 fish. Well, I had 1 fish in each well because we're going to call the fish out. Well, the one well, I thought I had the infuser in, and I didn't, and we ran through mud, and I shut the live well off, and I forgot to turn it back on. No, this fish, Rick, and it would have to be our big fish, and we got 2 fish. So I was like, man, I want to make, we worked this hard to get these 2 fish. We had like 16 pounds, something like that, 15, something like that. We had decent fish. So I sat there for 3 hours in the back of the boat. So I stuck this thing, and I turned it wide open, and he would move his gills like every minute once, and he'd flip up. So I kept pegging his nose down on the infuser, and he would and he got a little better. Then he got where he was breathing, but he's swimming upside down, kind of like the jack that they're doing in the river. And I finally, after like 4 hours, the other fish was fine. I got them both in the same live well now. I got this thing revived. He came back. If he had 9 lives, he definitely just used like 3 of them. We get to the dock. Well, in the process of reviving that fish,
You made the other one high as a
the other
kite.
one was jacked up
Yeah.
like somebody popped them with steroids.
Yeah.
So my buddy Brian, after breaking power poles and the front and the casting deck, we broke all kinds of stuff and just almost killed a fish. Grabs the fish to go weigh him in. This fish shoots out like a jackrabbit out of the well, right in the water.
Yeah.
At weigh in, and I just said, man, the guy next to us goes, was that your redfish? I was like, yeah. I said, he goes, you want to weigh the other one? I said, no, throw that damn thing in the water. I was like, we're going to drink some beer. I was like, we're done. This is the way. But the moral of the story was the other one was so jacked up on this oxygen.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is, the year before we didn't have one of these, and our recirc had went out. So day 2 we were going through mud, like trolling motors running high. We're running the boat through like muck. And I sat back there half the day unclogging the live well filter where the water was just like dirt. Where this thing here, you can just shut the pumps off, plug the well,
and throw the O2 to them.
And just give them some oxygen. And,
well, that's good.
And that's that. So it's a good system. It's a good option. It works if you have a live well that maybe you got a smaller pump, or the oxygen is going to do nothing but help your bait.
Well, I'm thinking cooler weather conditions. You probably really don't need to use that, but you get into in a lot of y'all's tournaments that y'all fish are in warm weather, so something like this can definitely only be a benefit.
Right. So it's a good system. Works great, and if you really want to go the extra mile with your bait, for me, I mean, that 26 Pathfinder, honestly, I got 105 gallons of live well.
Mm-hmm.
I can just spread
bait,
them.
Yeah.
And I got 1,600, 800, and 1,100 pump in the boat. I've got, they're set up right. I really wouldn't use it because the only downside of the system is getting it filled. You got to go to a welding supply. It's not expensive. It's like $10, $12, but you got to find one.
Right.
A medical place won't fill it unless you have a prescription for it. So getting it filled is a little bit of a pain here. Travis, I don't know, he got his filled in Louisiana fairly easy. But if you can find it, if you're in Tampa, it's easier. But in Ruskin, there's not a lot of welding supply places, if any.
If anybody's got a hookup, go ahead and put it on the a comment on the screen there.
Yeah, if you've got a place that'll fill these tanks close in Ruskin or even Apollo Beach or Riverview, put it on our comments here because we'd be interested in knowing that because it was a pain to get mine filled. But what a great system it is. And if you can, what I don't like is it's mobile, which is kind of cool, but it's not because you got this tank hanging there and you got the regulator. The way I had my boat built, and I didn't have a chance to use it. I sold that boat pretty fast. I only had it 6 months, but I had this hose actually ran through the live well under the hull into the console, and I had a strap section for the tank. So, and I never really got to use it, but yeah, it's a good system and works great.
I like the mobileness.
Yeah, it is. But if you're going to use it like on a daily basis on your charters, it'd be nice to have you can make it mobile. Pull the tank out. Have two of these where you can do one mobile and one in your boat permanently.
Well, and he's got.
I don't see what good this would do on a regular fishing trip for the weekend angler or for us.
Listen, Tom's a nice guy, but please don't tell him that because he will keep you on the phone 3 hours.
Well, no, I've hered his spill. I went through all that with him and about how we don't fish good here and Texas is where the fishermen are at and all that and. I wanted to say, well, look, let me just get your email address and I'll shoot you over about 2,000 pictures. But this is great for what you're saying, but I don't see this being any benefit to us or anybody else fishing in Tampa Bay on their recreational fishing.
Well, your bait is going to be better. Like
if
in the summer,
if you
it's going to be
supplemented
better.
your bait with this, like if you had one of these in there and it was running, maybe areas like.
But does it need to be better? I mean, I'm throwing away
areas.
If you have a smaller well, that's not
if you've
really
got a
good
maybe
design,
if you got maybe that's
maybe you have a 500 pump and you got small inlets and you can't up your pump. You got to think we're dealing with boats that have, like
I see that.
My wells are designed well. Travis's are designed really well.
Yeah.
Some of your off-brand boats. I want to throw a Key West, and I'm not banging Key West. Maybe like a Sea Hunt. They really don't put a lot of emphasis on live well design,
right?
As far as their
well, now that makes
capacity, like we would have.
Capacity,
you could put
or even flow. They put
5-6 dozen baits
is
is totally different than 5-600 baits.
Right.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But we run and Jason runs. I don't actually. You're not running them now, but basically the air pumps from Keep Alive. I'm running the bait well pumps. 1100s, and they've got like a Venturi effect that basically sucks air into my live well pumps. I got a little dial where I can adjust it. So I've noticed, and you've said the same thing too, like especially during the summertime when we'll fish maybe like shallow water like Cockroach Bay or places where not necessarily you're going to fish in that area, but maybe you're going to trolling motor over a 200, 300 yard stretch of flat to get to an area, and that whole time you're sucking up, that water. And sometimes it will make a difference having those air pumps or maybe a system like this where you could maybe turn your live well pump off. And you could probably, if you had a system like this and you fished in an area where there was a bad water situation or place that you were fishing that say the outflow of the power plant would be a good one. Like if you're idling through there or something like that, and you for whatever reason, you know what I mean. Now those are drastic situations, but
right, and I wasn't
there are
thinking
cases
about
where
somebody with a small live well or that.
There's certain
and I get
situations where it'd
that, but
be great.
For the average person that
I
has
agree.
a boat set up,
no,
$500 for something like this is
No.
not a good investment. Now,
Nope.
if you're going to tournament fish or you do have a boat that you have trouble with your bait and that kind of thing,
Or if you're,
I mean, I've had my boat 11 years, and I have, unless I had pump failure, I've never had trouble keeping bait alive.
no, I agree.
yeah.
I would
Never.
tell you,
And
too,
volume's a big thing though too.
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
always had a larger well where you're turning over the water and at a
volume's
high rate.
huge. I'll tell you what, and I've gotten away from the keep alive pumps, and I really was going to switch my back well. But I tell you what, Pathfinder does, and I thought, man, I don't know how this is going to work. They take a 1600 pump, and they've got 2.5-inch drains, one on the back wall and one in a window. And their claim to fame, if you see on their videos, the way the water pulls across that window.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I thought I'm going to lose bait in the summer with this boat. And when I first picked up the boat, I had to tweak the live well a little bit. And actually, I figured out a way to make that window work. It's a very simple fix. Anybody that has Pathfinders, I could bring it in and show y'all next week if there's any interest. But what I found is that back well, they're using a 1,600 gallon per hour pump, and they're pushing at the bottom and at the top and it splits off in a Y. And I really didn't lose bait in the summer. It was pretty impressive, and I started to wonder. I mean, the air's always good, but when I didn't have air in my Canyon Bay live wells, it seemed like in the summer, man, I just couldn't hold the bait I could with air. So I don't know. I don't know if it has something to do with that window, the way they're pulling that water through, or if it's pushing water, fresh water up
Well,
top and below.
don't you have sprayers in that one as well, don't
No,
you?
not in the back well.
There's no sprayers in your back well.
It is. It's like a sprayer, but when the live well's up, it never sprays.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you, when I'm running, because of step haul, that thing throws us 10 times the air.
Well, that's what I mean. Like a lot of times when you
A lot of good comments here. though,
pinch
bait.
an orifice, you're gonna get air induced a lot of the times anyway. Like on my Triton was a good example. I mean, like I never really had any major issues. Now that well was giant, so you had a lot of water, and I was turning that water over pretty good. But I sort of compensated it with that top sprayer. And it sounds stupid, but when that top sprayer was blowing 1,100, just pounding the top of that water, I mean, I had just as much bubbles and air. It really is sort of brings up the dissolved oxygen because you're pumping air
it's
into
not
the
as
into.
good. It's nowhere.
It's not as good as this. That's not what I'm saying, but you can sort of get around it in different ways. But that's definitely the key when you do have those low DO, low dissolved oxygen levels, is putting more air into your water, into your live well. That's going to help keep bait. Part of that is not putting as much bait, but if you want to still pack them like we do, then you're going to have to do something to compensate for not having that good water quality and that dissolved oxygen in that water.
Well, you're
and
exactly right.
that's what you get on those stagnant flats
on that
in the summer.
lean-in post well that I have in my Pathfinder. It's got a nice little window in the back, which is cool for the kids and all. But what you can see is it does have a sprayer in that one that sprays off and on, and you can see the air from the sprayer when it hits.
Mm-hmm.
It goes all the way to the bottom.
It'll
you
spray
can see it in the window,
it'll spray
which is at the
bubbles.
bottom of the well.
Yeah.
But I have to say that the way they've got that back well, it holds a ton of bait. I mean, a ton. It's 50 gallons, and it's pushing. And it's either the volume of the water or that window design. And if you ever go on their site, they got videos that show like they put dye in the water, and they show the dye going through that window into the drain, and it comes from the bottom and the top, which is basically like, I guess, the ammonia or whatever.
You're turning the well. You're getting, and that was partly nice too because you do a low drain, a high drain. You're pulling off some of that on the bottom.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't have. See, on my boat, I've got the feed coming from the bottom, so I'm constantly pushing that water up to the surface and flowing it over into the top overflow. So it's a little different. But guys, we're gonna get cut off here. We got about 7% left. And to be honest with you, we're talking a lot about bait. It kind of stemmed off the oxygen thing, which was really brought up for redfish tournament fishing. But check these guys out. There's a lot of cool stuff. And Jason and I, and even Rick, has got a lot of experience with some of their products. So feel free to message us if you've got any questions, whether you're doing our live well system with pumps or if you're going to do an oxygen system like this, pure oxygen, then definitely check Tom out, and he's got all the info. But in the next couple minutes, guys, maybe we can go over a couple fishing things real quick, and then see if they got any questions here we can answer. And then
on
we'll
the shark thing.
Okay.
What the actual answer said is that when shark loses teeth
Jonathan, just come into the
A
store,
new
buddy.
tooth grows in to replace it. In fact, below each tooth inside the gums are up to 7 layers of replacement teeth. I did not know that. Just waiting to grow in. Some species of sharks have been known to shed as many as 50,000 teeth during their lifetime. Now,
It's
how in the
nuts.
world they would know that, I don't know.
I've got a couple
But-
shark
That's our answer.
skull melts, and you can see it plain as day. All those other small teeth,
Yeah.
lined up around it. But 50,000,
Yeah.
That's nuts.
that's quite a few, man.
That's nuts.
And you wonder why you can go down just about any beach in Florida and find shark's teeth.
Mhm.
They all got 50,000 of them.
Where did you get this info here, Travis? Because this is stuff that you found.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
His Google
No, it don't
broke when he researched
Shut
that
your
one.
mouth.
So, just bits and pieces. I'd have to go back and look again and see where I got them all. But it was actually a fish trivia website that I went to, and they had a bunch of questions, and I took a couple tests. And as I answered the questions, I found out if I was right or wrong, and sort of made some trivia questions off of that. But to say whether it's 50,000 or 49,500, I don't know. It's just that's the source we got, and so that's kind of what we're rolling with. If that was the question, but so anyways, guys, just to kind of recap, fishing's been a little tough around Tampa Bay, I think in general.
And next week we're either going to be Tuesday or Thursday.
And next week we're either going to be Tuesday or Thursday.
We're
Tampa
not
Fishing
good.
Outfitter is going to be having a seminar here at the store. That'd be the 17th. So get on out to that. Captain James Beers and I think Pam Worth will be putting that one on. And a lot of good stuff going on there. But because of that, we're going to either do our show a day early or a day after. It's kind of going to depend on how our charters line up. But in the meantime, guys, get your boats maintenance, get all that stuff done. Fishing hasn't been, top of its game, but it's any day now. It's going to start recovering and getting better. So
Any day.
get in shape. Take your gift cards out. Go get you some new toys. Come up to Tampa Fishing Outfitters and get a
Spend
new
some
tackle
money.
box full of stuff and get ready for some sheepshead fishing. And if you're looking even farther than that, get ready to do some snook and redfish come fall.
Yeah, before we-
come spring.
Before we go to, I know we got a few seconds, guys. I had some all my 2018 Pro Staff stuff popped up this week. I know Smith Optics has got some new glasses, a few new styles coming out, and also St. Croix. I'll know more actually next week. We've got a Skype meeting to do, but they've got some new logos coming out, new rods hitting the market, and of course the Miami Boat Show is right around the corner. So
Yep.
who knows what's going to pop out there? We'll have to do some possibly product reviews on what pops out
Yeah.
engine wise and all that. So,
Yamaha's making some big stink. We'll see what it is.
yeah, they finally
We'll
came
see.
out with the 350
So,
that
yep.
runs.
Yep. But well, guys, we're gonna get shut off here. I can see we got a low battery, but we appreciate you guys joining in. We got about the whole show in on a backup GoPro. So thank you, Captain James Beers, for letting us borrow that. You'll have to recharge it to use it again. But guys, till next week, tight lines and catch them up.
Out.